Here's the acknowledgements page. I want to thank the following people for helping me to produce the book. Sachi Sutta, press manager and contribution to print the book. Rasesri Devi Dasa, manager of typists and compiler of manuscripts. Chaitanya Chandradaya, layout and cover. Rupa Vilas, proofreader. Krishna Kripa, proofreader. Baladeva Bajabhusana, interviewer. Nandarani Devi Dasi, typist. Haridas, typist. Ricard, typist. Jailalita Devi, typist. Ramila Devi, typist. Preface. After writing 3 volumes of my autobiography entitled The Story of My Life, I thought that too many books by that title may seem egotistical. I thought of a new working title, Looking Backward. An author reviews his books. My proofreader, Rupa Vilas, suggested that I shorten the title to Looking Back and explain the change in an introduction. So I am doing that. Looking Back, Volume 1 contains similar contents from the first 3 volumes of my autobiography. I review books I have written in the past, quote excerpts, and make present-day update and commentary. Volume 1 also contains 2 sections of a special journal I wrote early in 215. I hope my readers will be interested to continue my journey and that I can entertain and enlighten them by referring to my books and my personal life in service to my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada. I'm going to read excerpts from a book, Prabhupada Meditations, Volume 1. Excerpt 1.3. I will begin by showing how being apart from Srila Prabhupada and yet thinking of him is natural to me. This occurred just before the time Srila Prabhupada went back to India in 1967, when he was very ill. Young Brahmananda and Gargamuni, the 2 brothers whom Srila Prabhupada once described as, quote, just like 2 puppies, unquote, were with Srila Prabhupada in his room in the 26 Second Avenue apartment. I was in the other room by myself, looking out the window. Brahmananda and Gargamuni were speaking in a loving way with Srila Prabhupada. I heard them say, Swamiji, your skin is so smooth. It is just like a tiny baby's skin. But I was thinking, this is my place to be apart from Swamiji. I felt my service to him was in the other room rather than being there, although I even wanted to be with him. At least at that moment, I appreciated even more serving him in the other place and thinking about him. Probably this was intensified with the occasion, was that we were being forced to be without Prabhupada's personal presence. And so I thought, this is how I am meant to serve. Also, one recalls Tripurari staying at the airport to distribute books when Srila Prabhupada arrived in Los Angeles. Quote, we had kirtan all the way down the stairs, and when we got outside, all the devotees were going back to the temple. And I thought, what business do I have going back to the temple and chanting with all the devotees? My business is to stay out and distribute the books. That is my service. Digression. Of course, I treasured Prabhupada's personal association, and I got a lot of it, more than most devotees, because I came at the very beginning when he was so accessible. But when he called me to be his personal servant in 1974, I was thrilled that he had picked me, and I jumped at the chance. But after 6 months, I wanted a change of service. I wanted to go out to preach like the sannyasis he talked to, while I waited for him in the other room. Such was my nature to serve in separation. I grasped the concept of Vani in a very personal way, to be with the spiritual master. My early years in Boston were intense intimacy with Prabhupada through Vani, through correspondence and typing his tapes and being the temple president and taking care of the devotees. I am naturally shy and reserved person, and that may add to it. Except 1.8. We used to imitate Swamiji in various ways, trying to act as spiritual persons, sometimes trying to show off to newcomers. One thing I began to imitate was a sound that Prabhupada made, an ecstatic utterance which sounded like, Prabhupada would often do it, and we took it as an ecstatic moment in his speech. He might be saying, Krishna is very beautiful, and then he would pause and feel something and make that sound. When I did it in imitation, I was not feeling ecstasy, but I was Swamiji's follower. It was something I had picked up. It was something that some of us did. It was the Shakti of Swamiji. We had noted it and taken it up as our way. So one day a guest was eating prasadam with us in Swamiji's apartment, and he sat down next to me. He was a marijuana smoker, and he was checking out the people closely to see their mannerisms. When he sat down next to me, there was a moment of silence, and then I made that sound. He immediately noticed and appreciated. Yeah, I dig you, man. I see what you're into. My sound had proclaimed, we are Swamiji's followers and we're not afraid of anything because we know Krishna. If I had said the same thing, it would have said arrogant or untrue. But by making that sound, the young hipster picked it up and appreciated. Implied that we don't die, we're eternal souls. Krishna is full of bliss. He is within your heart. digression. We developed an internal language as Prabhupada's followers. In later years, the communications department frowned upon some of these imitative usages. I think it was an academic person who criticized some of our phrases like taking rest, taking prasadam. So the communications department wanted us to start using proper English and not lean on the expressions of Prabhupada in imitation. But it was hard to wean the devotees away from their fond familiarity with Prabhupada's ways. Some of Prabhupada's ways were Indian ways. Some of them are from his British education, and some of them are personal to himself. These were evidenced in the early editions of the first canto, which were unedited and which were published in India. Excerpt 114, Kirtan Rasa. In the second recall session I had with Baladev, I started again from my 1966 apartment at First Street and took the short walk over to 26 2nd Avenue. Baladev was going to steer me into the hallway to go up to see Swamiji in the apartment, but I suddenly wanted to go directly into the storefront and attend the temple meeting. Thinking of the kirtans with his one-headed drum, it's really the heart of association with Swamiji. He's playing the drum and we start playing the kirtans. It's really nice, that making of spiritual music together, especially when you feel part of the group. Swamiji is leading the kirtan. First he sings some prayers and you just go with it and listen. It's not only sound, but the total kirtan, watching him and trying to get the bliss. When Swamiji sings, you all sing together and your voices are merged. It's musical and spiritual, but it's a kind of crying too. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. You start in. This is going to go for half an hour. It goes back and forward. He sings and you sing. Swamiji is completely into it. He loves to do what he's doing, chanting Hare Krishna. After a while, the dancing started. Maybe Achyutananda or Jodharani, Kirtanananda, Brahmananda, and I would get up too. Dancing was walking in a circle or standing in your place and moving your feet. The circle goes slowly around in front of Swamiji on the dais. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. He keeps his eyes closed, and sometimes they open and he sees what's going on. He looks around at the people, and then he closes his eyes again. After the kirtan, there would be waves of quieting down, and the devotees would be smiling to each other. Wow, that was far out, man. Boy, I really got off on that one. Then it would be calming down, getting your seat, getting ready to hear Prabhupada talk. Swamiji was getting himself ready. He had his pocket watch and he put that in its place, getting the book ready, and maybe he'd say, Raymond, fix this light, or get water. while everyone's rustling and trying to calm down. One wants to be with Swamiji again in those kirtans. If it can be done, it will act as a vital tonic, the presence of the Guru. Don't deride the love which Prabhupada encouraged us to feel in the kirtans. Now, 24 years later, don't patronize. We were hippies, you know, and Prabhupada was permissive. He encouraged ecstasy in the kirtan, and he led us to believe that we actually loved the Lord. But since then we've discovered that we don't love Lord Krishna so easily. It may be said that I've overlooked a great secret. It was easy when Srila Prabhupada was leading you in the kirtan. And that's still available. Meditate on being in kirtan with him as you go about your routine on his behalf. Don't complain, but now I have to be a guru. And everything is institutionalized. As you go about your bathing, eating, sleeping, etc., you can sing, and in your mind's eye, you are with him. Prabhupada Meditations, Volume 1, Excerpt 2.1. Thoughts of Swamiji from 5 blocks away. Written in the mode of Satsvarupa Das Brahmachari. There is a series of these poems which I wrote in 1990, remembering myself as Satsvarupa Das Brahmachari in 1966. This one is a meditation of me at the welfare office. Swamiji, you're in your room, and I'm here at the welfare office thinking of you. I'm fortunate to be so close to you, and I'll see you at lunchtime. My supervisor doesn't know, and Miss Femme Fatale doesn't know. Though I'd tell them more if I could. For now I have to live within, praying to Vishnu, the Lord of Bhakti Yoga. Swamiji, as I think of your kind glances and the chanting you've brought to the Lower East Side, I'm grateful to be your son. I've got so many misconceptions of spiritual life and heaps of dirty things in my heart. You're changing all that, but I'm just a crawling infant. Please stay with your children, Brahmananda, Achyutananda, Kirtananda, Rupanuga. Don't leave us or we'll all fall down. I'm praying at the office to serve your mission with $134 a week. Hearing your lectures every morning, sometimes I'm alone with you to ask a question. Shall I chant Hare Krishna within? I'll see you again soon, O spiritual master, pure devotee of Lord Krishna, and I'm living for that. Please accept this mango. Digression. I mentioned in the poem that I asked Prabhupada a question. Oh, there are more people here now. Can I chant Hare Krishna within? I mentioned that in the context of working at the welfare office. I said sometimes people are talking nonsense and I chant within. He said not just people in your office are talking nonsense, but the greatest philosophers are talking nonsense. And he encouraged me to chant Hare Krishna within. When I first showed up at the welfare office with my head shaved, a man called me in. He was over my supervisor, a bigger authority, and he grilled me on what was this. I said it was based on the Indian ancient spiritual wisdom of Bhagavad Gita, and that we had a center on the Lower East Side. He understood it was serious, and then he was cool and accepted me. He just didn't want to think it was something frivolous or hippie, or something mad. I was accepted in the office with my Sika, shaved head, and tilak. Later on, I wore the Jagannath necklace. He had a screwed in his head. Prabhupada didn't approve of Jagannath with a screw in his head. A black lady, a top supervisor, called me into her office and she said, "Great Gordon's gin." She was just checking me out, seeing if I was the real thing. I played real sober and deadpan. And if they asked me something, I told them. Otherwise, I didn't aggressively preach. They didn't ask me many spiritual questions in the office. They just accepted that I was strange and wanted to see if I could still do my job. I proved to them that I could. I guess at first they were afraid that I might make a sensation, going into the welfare clients' homes, but they didn't care. They just wanted their services and their welfare check. Mr. Guarino. They were too much in the modes to ask any questions or to think I was different. I had my suit and tie on. Excerpt 2.4. I want to remember the time when Srila Prabhupada accepted a daily mango from me. The amazing thing is that Srila Prabhupada used to remember this insignificant act, and even in his very last weeks in Vrindavan, or recalling the happy days at 26 Second Avenue, he said, Satsvarupa would bring me a mango. There was something about it that I wished to remember, but when I try to recall the exchange, I come up with only the same old memory. I complained about this to myself, to the quote, file clerk, unquote, whose job it is to keep all these memories intact. He began to answer me back, file clerk, you have spoken in a deriding way about canned memories, but the very thing you deride is also a strength. Time after time when you want to recall something, I've got it, and I can supply it. You feel it's stale by repeating it, but what can I say? At least you have them and you can feel sure about these memories. They're reliable. The fact that you don't experience all the emotions you'd like to, and all the colors you'd like to see, and the fact that you're really not really there as a person, but it's the information presented in a codified way. Well, what can I say? A memory is what it is, so take it and appreciate it. When the file clerk spoke up so strongly, I began to pacify him, telling him my appreciation for his work. It's true he skipped important facts for history, but what about the actual experience? We didn't appreciate how important Prabhupada was. Now we understand even things in relation to him which seemed unimportant at the time were certainly worth keeping. Nothing should have been rejected. And so without criticizing the memories that still exist, I pointed out to my clerk that we should make more effort to remember Srila Prabhupada and not claim that's all there is. To this, the file clerk replied, I admit that memory is very deep and elusive. The ways of the mind are unknown to me also. I did not reject deliberately anything about Prabhupada, but we are all subjected to forgetfulness. Ultimately, Krishna is the final decider on these things. From him comes knowledge, memory, and forgetfulness. If he wants us to suddenly remember Srila Prabhupada, then it's a great blessing on us. And if he wants to forget something, it is our fate to accept that. The files of memory have no bottom to them. We can go as deep as possible and keep going. If you like, we can do it together and keep trying. And so I researched for hours, but I found nothing new. I resigned myself for now to offer to the reader the same dal, rice, and chapatis that I've offered before, and hope that someone out there is hungry for more of the same. In support of repetition, let me offer this statement by Prabhupada, quote, that question we have already discussed, but there is no harm discussing it again, because any substantial knowledge, if it is discussed one after another, twice, thrice, it is better. Lecture on Bhagavad Gita, 213, March 1966. And I tell the memory again, the mango giving. The Swami mentioned mangoes. He told the story of his spiritual master when he was only 2 or 3 years old. He ate a mango without offering it to the deity. When his father, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, told him this was an offense, the young child vowed never to eat mango again. Prabhupada told us that we Americans could not fully estimate what a sacrifice that was, since in India the mango is appreciated as the most delicious of all fruits. Prabhupada also recalled that when he was a boy, they always had plenty of mangoes. He remembered running into the house from play and grabbing a mango whenever he liked. Swamiji mentioned that mangoes were not available in America. So one day, while at the welfare office and thinking of Swamiji, I remembered his mention of the mango and decided that I would get him one. I went to the produce store on the corner of First, put it carefully in a bag and brought it at once to Swamiji. Swamiji smiled and received the mango graciously. He asked me where I got it. After that, I stopped every day at the grocer and got another mango. And I had been doing this for 2 weeks. I came again one day when Swamiji's room was filled with boys. The Mott Street boys were there. and they made me feel a twinge of envy. They didn't do much work or raise any money, and yet they were able to stay more with Swamiji when I was. I gave the mango to Swamiji and sat down with the others. Even as I did so, Swamiji said, "Very good boy." He said the way you would speak to a very young child. The boys burst out laughing. I blushed and felt I was the butt of a joke. But then Swamiji said, "No, this is love. This is Krishna consciousness." And then I felt very pleased. When Swamiji was in his dying days in Vrindavan, he was on the roof and he was reminiscing about 1966, and he said, "And Satsvarupa used to bring me a mango." He was now a world acharya and he was ending his Leela, and he remembered this little exchange.
How long did you keep bringing Prabhupada mangoes after he complimented you?
For months. Excerpt. Why didn't I keep a diary in 1966? A poem in the mood of Satsvarupa Das Brahmachari. Swamiji, they want to know why I didn't keep a diary filled with the life of those days. I thought everything was in your words, and they were in books and tape recordings. I also made notes of them. What is it I should have saved for the future? Should I have kept notes like, quote, "He has brown eyes. Today Hayagriva made a joke. I feel happy in Krishna consciousness. Haven't smoked pot in 2 months." Maybe I thought it was Maya, but I'm sorry now. I didn't keep a journal of it all. I had no presence of mind. For me, the main thing is that you were restoring me to life. I was fully occupied, holding on to your lotus feet. Maybe I thought there was no need to write it down because we would never forget everything you did and said. No, there's no excuse for it. Please bless me now, Master, to live in those days, remembering your kirtans, and the time I met you on the street and bowed down on the sidewalk before you. As I rose, you touched me with your hand. You were in ecstasy on your morning walk, and I proceeded to the welfare office to break through the line of angry workers on strike. Digression. Actually, Prabhupada was on his walk, and the caseworkers were on strike outside the building. They had 2 files. And anyone who went to work, they would harass and call them scabs, and threaten you with violence for going to work. So Swamiji and Kirtananda were on a morning walk, and they went down 5th Street where the welfare office was, across the street, and the caseworkers started chanting at Prabhupada. Mani, 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 which is ironic. Why were they chanting money to him? They were the ones who were on strike asking for more money. But they were criticizing him for sending me to work to get money, because all he was interested in was money. Digression. Yadubara and Vishaka were examples of devotees who did know that it was important to capture Prabhupada. They were photographers and filmmakers, so that was their path. It was hard for Vishaka as a woman to go on the morning walks and take pictures of Prabhupada and push her way forward. But she did it, and she was accepted, begrudgingly sometimes. Prabhupada welcomed Yadubara's filming of him and told him once, "Never leave your camera down." Prabhupada himself was into preserving his message. He had a reel-to-reel tape recorder as early as 1965, and he recorded his talks uptown in Dr. Mishra's yoga studio and his first lectures on the Bowery. He upgraded the machine himself, and the little boys stepped in and helped him. He wanted to maintain the message in the future, and he knew it was important. That would explain why he wasn't disturbed by Yadubara and Vishaka having a camera in his face. Radhastami, 1966. A poem in the mood of Satsvarupa Das Brahmachari. Swamiji, I'm in my room thinking of you and what you are giving us. As I told my brother-in-law, it's transcendental loving service. It's raining today, and tomorrow I will get initiated. It will be fun. I've got my red japa beads. You are my guru. I feel serious about this initiation into Hinduism. ... Now it's later the next day, and you've given me a spiritual name. My true name is Satsvarupa Das. From now on, I'm no longer Steve Guarino. When I say I believe in God and God is Krishna, and He is present in the japa beads, is this my imagination? Is this my belief? Is it a fact? What is the proof? Anyway, as long as I can see you, my doubts will be defeated. I've never met anyone like you. You are as close to us as a friend and father, and yet you are with Krishna in a trance of devotion. You make strong arguments against all doubts. What's ahead? I don't know. Let me read your books. From now on, I'm no longer Steve Guarino. Let me write it. Satsvarupa Das, and more visions of you in your turtleneck jersey, your shining eyes, working at your Gita and Bhagavatam, your spiritual body, your life in India, the mystery of Radha and Krishna. Now autumn is coming, and it is a brilliant hope. You say that we'll go out chanting in Compton Square Park. You say that we will go everywhere, even Russia and China. I too may have to go somewhere. I want to be serious and get up very early and fight sleep and sex desire and work for you. It is a brilliant hope that Krishna is the Supreme Godhead, and we can play with Him in Vrindavan. If my father and mother don't like it, they can reject me, so what? As Ray Rama said, it's the oldest story in the world that kids grow up and go their way. Swamiji, you know all this, and you know Krishna. Please accept me. I'll write more soon, if you are pleased with this. Digression. In this poem, I write that I'm happy about my initiation into Hinduism. I deliberately put that line in there. That was in the mood of Satsvarupa Das Brahmachari. When I got initiated, I thought it was part of the Hindu religion. Prabhupada had penetrated my skull with the concept that Hinduism was a misnomer, so I thought I was becoming a Hindu. Here's another poem in the mood of Satsvarupa Das Brahmachari. I'm in my room up at 2 a.m. thinking of Krishna and Swamiji. Or should I say thinking of Swamiji, because I really can't think yet of the Supreme Lord. But I have my red beads and I'm fighting sleep. I don't know anything, but I'll see my spiritual master in just a few hours. I'll walk to the storefront, sit inside, and he'll come looking serious and calm. We'll begin to sing softly, softly, while the sunbeams filter dust motes and the first garbage cans start clanging. I'll be listening to the new knowledge of Lord Chaitanya's teachings to Sanatana Goswami. I think that's how you spell it. Swamiji doesn't talk long in the morning because Rupanuga and I have to get to work. That's blissful too, saying goodbye to Swamiji and the boys, and then I'm on my own. I take my necktie out of my back pocket and tie it on as I walk, buttoning my jacket, feeling cowherd boy bliss after 2 bowls of heavenly porridge with ISKCON bullet juice into that sad, glad atmosphere of the downtown street. I'm alone, but no longer alone. The cowherd boy Govinda, the Supreme Personality, who Swamiji loves and wants us to love, he seems to be calling me. I seem to be one of his frolicking friends, and my necktie is like some paraphernalia for Govinda's sports. I can't explain it, but all I know is that before I met the Swami, going to work was never like this. The other day, a poem in the mood of Satsvarupa Das Brahmachari. The other day I came to you, Swamiji, after I'd just talked with my mother and father on the phone. He said he didn't like Swamiji and Krishna. And he said he and my mom will have nothing to do with me until I quit. I was teary-eyed when I spoke this to you, and I don't remember what you said. Should have written it down. But I remembered your eyes smiled when you saw that I'm definitely your son. Please keep me that way. Although I'm old enough to live without my mom and dad, spiritually speaking, I'm only 3 months old. My upbringing was so bad that I keep thinking insulting thoughts in your presence, and I tend to disbelieve scriptures. But I'm sure it will come out all right. And you said that you were sure too, as long as I stick to it. I need you to correct me, but I can't take stern reprimands. You know this, and so you are always easy with me. I just want to say that I appreciate it, although I wish I were made of stronger stuff. When I told you I sleep only 5 hours, just like the 6 Goswamis, you were not impressed. You scoffed at me. You are not a Goswami. I really like that one. Please teach me the Bhagavad Gita. Tell me of Nanda and Yasoda's son. Tell me every morning of Lord Chaitanya, and please never stop. And as you get to know me and see I'm shot with vices, unclean, can't sit up straight, can't remember, don't have pure faith to carry out orders, please note that despite my faults, I really think I can make it and be a follower of yours my whole life, if you'll accept me. That's what I'm asking. That's all I intend to read. Now we can have a soft kirtan. And devotees come up. I've already signed my name to save time, but I'll put your name in the book. And you can put a donation in this bag.